June 13th, 2017. A warm summer night in the North Kensington area of West London. Just before 1 a.m., fire broke out of the kitchen floor of flat 16 in the Grenfell Tower. Within minutes, the fire raced up to the exterior of the building and then spread to all four sides. But how did the fire escape the flat that was originally designed to mitigate fire emergencies to becoming a death trap?
We are not going to be sending people into this. Can you make a note of all that? I'm sure you are.
The world watched in disbelief as the worst disaster in British soil since the Hillsborough took place. Ever since former Prime Minister Theresa May called for a national inquiry,
I am ordering a full public inquiry so we can get to the answers, we can find out exactly what happened and why it happened.
There have been many questions, but some have been left unanswered. 7 years later, what is left of the building is set to be demolished.
Prime Minister Angela Rayner is facing a backlash from family and community groups over her decision to demolish the Grenfell Tower.
How did a small apartment fire escalate to such catastrophe? And will anyone ever be held accountable for the lives lost on that tragic day?
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it?
What seems like another routine night for Uber driver Khabib will eventually turn to one of the most traumatizing days of his life. After a long shift, Khabib arrived home at about 11:45 p.m. and he plans to drive an additional hour the following morning. Little did he know the chaos that will ensue. In the flat where his two roommates were sound asleep. One bedroom is Elsa and the other is Alma's. Just another day in flat 16, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Khabib showered, changed for bed, and went to sleep on the mattress in the living room. On the 14th of June 2017, what felt like a dream, before the clock could strike 1 a.m., he was awakened by an unusual sound. A sound he did not recognize at first, but it perpetually got louder. Half asleep, he assumed it was the kitchen fire alarm. Nothing could prepare him for what he was about to witness as he opened the kitchen door. He rushed back to the living room, grabbed his phone, and dialed 999 while banging on his roommate's doors and alerted his neighbors by screaming and shouting, "Fire! Fire!"
Yeah, hello, hi, in the fire, flat 16 Greenfield Tower.
Sorry, a fire where?
Flat 16 Greenfield Tower. In the flat.
Right, hang on.
Flat 16 Greenfield Tower.
Flat 16, and what's the postcode?
W11 1TG.
W11 1T for
1TG.
Tango.
Yeah, but can you quick, please?
Yeah, would you just, I have to get the address. Okay, Glen,
Flat 16 Greenfield Tower, W11 1TG.
the fire brigade are on their way.
At 1:14 a.m., firefighters arrived at Khabib Flats, and 6 minutes later, they managed to put out the original fire in the kitchen. Photograph evidence later indicates the likely source of the fire was the freezer. Unbeknownst to them, the fire was still ablaze. At exactly 1:20 a.m., flames shoot up to the eastern facade of the tower, igniting the exterior cladding on the wall of flat 6 from the 4th to the 10th floor. But how did the fire escape the flat? To understand this, we have to go back to the inception of the Grenfell Tower. The Grenfell Tower was a derelict 24-story residential tower block built in 1974 as part of the first phase of Lancaster West Estate, named after war hero Field Marshal Francis Grenfell, who served in the British Army for almost 50 years. The tower had been designed with attention to strength, unlike the collapsed Ronan Point Tower of the same period. The original design was set for the building to last for well over 100 years, with a strong concrete foundation. To achieve this, the Grenfell Tower had a central core, a single staircase, a lift, and other elements for electricity and water. Fast forward to 2011, amid plans to build a school and a leisure center at the base of the Grenfell Tower, discussed plans to refurbish the tower as well. Renovation aimed to replace the substandard heating system, the windows, increased the thermal efficiency of the tower and appearance of the tower to modern standards. In 2014, 3 contractors submitted tenders for this. Muellerly quoted £10.4 million for the contract. Durkin Homes quoted £9.94 million. Ryden Construction Limited quoted £9.2 million for the contract, which puts them in the lead for what the estate was looking for. Ryden later reduced the cost of the project in line with the £8.5 million budget the estate had and won the contract. And this is where the foundation of the Grenfell Tower disaster began. With the £8.5 million budget in mind, the original window frames were replaced with UPVC. According to experts, this was how the fire escaped the flat. UPVC is a rigid, durable material. However, it has one obvious flaw: it is not heat resistant, and therefore the fire in the flat was more than enough to melt the window, allowing more oxygen to enter the flat. According to an eyewitness, "I could see the frame fell out and suddenly I could see smoke and fire gust out. Once the fire escaped the flat, witness videos show it spread rapidly and reached the top of the building by 1:26 a.m. and by 4:30 almost all the building blazed." But how did the fire spread rapidly on a concrete building that was designed to mitigate fire emergencies? Once the fire escaped, within minutes, video evidence shows droplets of fire coming off the building. But what was this material that was falling? In order to win the contract, the replacement of zinc cladding for a cheaper aluminum cladding was used. The product used in the building is composed of 2 layers: a 3mm thick aluminum sheeting around the flammable polyethylene. Polyethylene is ferociously combustible, which has been compared to solid petrol by experts. What makes this worse is the fact that text message later revealed that the cladding used was not fit for purpose. The cladding was not the problem itself, but how it was installed. These cladding panels could be fitted to walls in 2 different ways. Either they could have holes drilled in them, so they could be bolted to frames attached to the walls in the riveted fashion, or they could be bent and hung from hidden rails, known as the cassette system. In 2004, fire tests carried out by the manufacturer Ironic revealed something surprising. The fire performance was far worse when they were folded into the cassette ships. These tests revealed that while the riveted system obtained a B grade, under the European system, the cassettes burned so violently, and as the cladding was installed using the cassette system, it was retrofitted onto the original concrete building. There was an airspace between the cladding and a layer of insulation. This airspace acted as a chimney that the fire quickly spread through up to the top floor. While firefighters are aiming to put this disaster out, the exterior parts of the cladding acted as a shield to protect the fire from the water hose. By 2:06 a.m., 170 people have escaped and 128 remained in the building. As the fire reached the top floor and the crown of the building, which included more of the explosive cladding, the fire spread on the other sides of the building as well. But a question remains: why didn't more people manage to escape? By 4:30 a.m., the fire had reached up to the 22nd floor. Inside was the Chowchir family. Despite calling about 8 times, they were told to stay inside as part of the stay put policy. The entire policy is built around the original design of the building and non-flammable concrete. The stay put policy, the reason they were advised to stay in place is that each room is a discrete separate box that is separated for the purpose of fire prevention. when the new cladding was added, the stipwood policy was never updated. By the time the fire started in 2017, the building was wrapped around flammable cladding, or what experts called solid petrol. And by the time the stipwood policy was revoked, most of the building had become a trap. And sadly, that family on the 22nd floor took their final breath that night. How did the fire manage to take hold of the entire building? By 4:30, the fire had reached the crown of the building, which contained more of solid petrol as described by experts, and therefore liquid of fire began to drop on the other side of the building, creating smaller fires which replicated the chimney effect on all sides, as video evidence shows. At 8:07, the last victim of flat 83 on the 11th floor escaped, and despite the efforts of firefighters, 72 people took their last breath that night. And as of now, no one has been held accountable for the life lost on that tragic day, and what is left of the building is set to be demolished.